Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete for Anxiety here, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about again. Welcome in today's episode. Before we get started today, we need to cover a few things really quick. Let's talk about the Pete for Anxiety Patreon first off. It's only $1, guys. $1. What does $1 get you? $1 gets you into the exclusive episodes I am recording currently. I'm actually focusing on certain different diagnoses of things to show you guys what it actually looks like as it manifests in a person. So why not for $1, judges? Yeah, they said $1. I just checked with them too. See, they said it was okay. It was $1 anyways. Let's also talk about the Oracle Talk Radio Networks app. In case you can't be here live listening to me, watching this video, supporting the show, you can listen to it on the radio app. Why not? It connects us live to our 365 radio. Just go to your app stores and download the Oracle Talk Radio Network. You'll see the big old Oracle Talk Radio Network app logo right on there. Download it and it'll connect you to me, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, to Pete for Anxiety when I'm live doing my thing right here, informing the world and raising mental health awareness. So where are you going to be? 10 a.m. Of course. Come on. We just talked about this. Pay attention for once. Damn. Do y'all know how to listen? And as always, guys, like, follow, and share the YouTube channel. If you guys like what you're seeing, leave some comments, man. We want to know. I want to know if you like what you're on. You want to be on the show? Let me know. Hit me up at PeteVersusAnxietyPod@gmail.com. And as always, guys, enjoy the show. And by the way, did I mention to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well? Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure because some of y'all are hard of hearing in the back, may have to yell loud or get a megaphone or something. But, anyways, let's get today's show started. Y'all have a great one. Enjoy. Hello and welcome into another exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. My guest today is a psychotherapist coach with 30 years of experience specializing in trauma recovery, mindfulness, and yoga therapy. Please welcome the one, the only, Amita Ghosh.
Hi, Pete. So glad to be here. Hi, everybody. I am here and I'm excited and waiting for your questions.
Definitely. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about yourself now? I do know you have your podcast, The Shrink That Drinks, that just premiered. The first episode dropped. I know you're excited to get it going. So what are your plans with your podcast?
Sure. So, yes, Shrinks Who Drink is
I love the name, by the way. I love the name.
Right. And I came up, a friend of mine and I came up with that name, but it's not what you think. It is Shrinks Who Drink Chai. So I am originally from India and we drink a lot of tea. I grew up in India and anytime somebody walks into the house, the first thing we ask, would you like some tea? So we drink a lot of tea, and all of my friends that come over to my house are always like, I hope you have some ginger tea ready. So that's why it's Shrinks Who Drink, but it's Shrinks Who Drink Chai. So that's the name.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So what I'm hoping to do with Shrinks Who Drink is bringing the Eastern and Western thoughts and philosophies together in mental health. So I have 30 plus years of experience. I grew up in India and I came to this country as an adult to go to graduate school. So my psychology training is all in the Western world and in the Western philosophy. However, growing up in India, you were just naturally exposed to that, that way of life, that way of thinking. And I didn't have to study it. I just knew it intuitively. And so coming here and getting the Western side of the education and then just intuitively blending my internal knowledge with it, I came up with my unique version of, what it's like to help people heal. And it is a little bit different from just the typical Western cognitive psychology, because one thing we know that anxiety is a problem of overthinking. Mm-hmm. And cognitive psychology is about thinking. You can't think yourself out of overthinking.
That's very true.
So you have to find other approaches. And so I, started to work with my Western knowledge and my Eastern knowledge. And my hope is that with my podcast, I can educate more people about how to use both of those to help us heal, help others heal, and live a much, much happier and more fulfilling life.
Yeah. Listen, so a question for you, though. When you got here
versus what you already knew. Okay, so Western obviously was way different where you're learning psychology. Was there were you kind of at first thinking, well, this is kind of weird, because obviously you grew up in the Eastern, coming to the Western side, a whole different set of rules of how things work and how people see things. Was that a big culture shock for you?
So a little bit of background, India was ruled by the British for 300 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually lived in a very big city, Calcutta. It's now called Kolkata. So, and I went to a Catholic school and a Catholic high school and a Jesuit college. So I was exposed to Western thought already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I learned English from preschool. So it's not like I came here and learned English. I mean, my knowledge of English is mostly based on British English coming, when I was in India, but, and also being in a major city, which used to be the capital of British India, it is very cosmopolitan. So in a way, I was exposed to the Western thoughts and the Eastern thought from my childhood.
Yes.
So, however, I did not study psychology in India. So my exposure to formal psychology education was in the US.
Yeah. So why didn't you study it there? Is it way different versus the Western philosophy? I mean, obviously it is going to be different because the different views for both sides, but is there a reason why you didn't study in Eastern?
Oh yeah, it's a interesting thing in India. At least when I was growing up, you had to pick your field, so to speak, from high school. So if you wanted to go into humanities, you had to pick it in high school. If you wanted to go into science, you had to pick it in high school. Well, I picked humanities, but when I went to college, I realized that in order to study psychology, I had to have picked science, which I did not. So my only option would have been to go back to high school and do all of high school in order to go to college and study psychology. So I studied political science in India, but my sister was in the US. She was doing her higher education. And she said, here, you don't have to have that. You can come here and study psychology. They may ask you to take some extra classes or something, but you can do that. And so that's why I was always interested in psychology. And so I was able to pivot when I came here.
Well, that's good to see. At least you had a sister already here, and when you came over, at least you had somebody you knew when you got here. You're not, on your own and things like that. And psychology has always interested me too, just because the thought process of how people look at things and, and mental health too, as well. It's really interesting to meet other people that deal with certain things, and it's really fascinating for me because like you could read things in a book, but when you see somebody physically in front of you exhibiting these different things, it's very interesting that a lot of the stuff doesn't show up right away that you see, like everything is, oh, but here's this X, Y, and Z, but really what you're looking at is something totally different.
Right. Absolutely. And, in graduate school, in your master's program, you only have 2 years. And then you have, depending on which program you're in, you have a few years of internship and that kind of stuff. You really can't learn everything you need to learn from books. You have to learn it when you're in the field doing the work.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different.
I think it's very interesting though, because, I've been meeting a lot of people lately with different diagnoses of things. BPD has been one that showed up a couple times already. And it was interesting to see that one girl, she said she had bipolar and BPD. And I know those tend to line up symptomatic wise. They kind of are similar. And I know a lot of people get them kind of mixed up differentially, between the two. And I think it's always interesting when you hear that because it's like, I didn't even know what BPD was until I even started this podcast, honestly. And then somebody had come up to me and said, "Hey, I have BPD." I said, "What is that exactly?" And they were explaining it to me. And I was so fascinated. Like, I'm like, yeah, all right. Now I want to know more because I don't know what this is. It sounds so interesting. And then when I started digging into it, I was like, okay. So I started asking this person questions very carefully because I know a lot of it has to do with their emotions. Or the way she described it was that she had her cycles her emotions of what she said. And then another person I met, they told me that the way theirs works is that she questions who she is every day. She gets up, looks in the mirror, and questions what person's going to show up that day, which is interesting to say, because it's like, what if we all had to deal with that problem too, and we didn't realize it. And then you find out you have this, and then you're like, whoa, whoa, hold on. I think that, we need to educate people more on some of these other things that people don't commonly see.
So I'm going to explain to you some ways to differentiate borderline and
Definitely.
bipolar.
Okay.
So bipolar is typically more an organic disorder. So it is similar to depression. It has to do with, what kind of neurons are firing in your brain. However, and bipolar can also be genetic. You can get it from your family of origin, that kind of stuff. Borderline, on the other hand, is more of a learned behavior gone wrong. So somebody who was under a lot of stress may have had some coping skills that worked at one point, but now those same coping skills are very, very dysfunctional. And they have become so habituated to using those coping skills, even when they're not working, that they just can't stop it. Yeah. So it's more of a learned behavior, and as opposed to an organic, brain chemistry kind of a problem.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, it's so fascinating because every person I meet so far that's had it, they've all described it in different ways. And there's one young lady that was on the show. She's actually doing a video blog of what every day is like having BPD, just to basically raise awareness to people that this is what I deal with on a daily basis. This is giving it a face, essentially, that way somebody knows, kind of gets a little better idea what it is when you see somebody that's actually going through these things. Now, I know she was hesitant at first when she was talking about doing it, because she was like, well, I don't want to be negative. I'm like, how are you going to be negative if this is how you're feeling every day? Like don't let it stop you from doing what you want to do. If you're going to record it, it's going to be you. It's not negative. It's exactly how you're feeling that day. Hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what my thoughts are at this moment, kind of thing. And I thought it was real interesting to see that, she was willing to do that, and she's putting it out on the internet for everybody to see, but she's been getting such a positive review of it. And it's been great to see that so many people, even strangers that she's never even met, are just supporting this thing and loving the fact that she's willing to put herself out there on such a broad scale, especially the internet, which, you never know what kind of people you're going to run into these days.
Absolutely true. Because I think that's very brave of her, and it's also very generous of her to be doing this, because there are other people out there who are probably struggling with the same thing, that hopefully if they come across her video and see it, and they can feel like, okay, I'm not alone. There are other people experiencing this as well, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's on the other side, that life still exists, life can still be good. But I think the more attention we can draw to these emotional and mental health problems, the better it is. So this BPD is one of those diagnoses that one of the very successful treatment for BPD is DBT, and that's dialectic behavior therapy. And essentially, dialectic behavior therapy sort of has borrowed a lot of the ideas and concepts from mindfulness. So it is about helping somebody with BPD develop their ability to be mindful in the moment, so they can have a choice of how they want to respond. So instead of reacting to whatever is going on in their lives, they now give themselves a little bit of psychological room to respond. And so most BPD, people with BPD would have a very reactive kind of, personality, like something happens and they snap. And so being able to be mindful and slowing down that process helps them say, okay, how do I want to react to this? Or do I want to respond? Or do I want to respond at all? Do I want to just let it go? So DBT is one of the treatments that's really helpful in borderline personality disorder.
Yeah, I love when you say mindfulness. Like I said before we hit record here, I met a person that's what he does. His app basically teaches you how to be more mindful, and and anybody that's listening to this, mindfulness is just like another way to look at things. Like if you break down the steps of you, well, we use coffee in our conversation. Me and him were talking, and he was like, just think about it. He's like, you smell the coffee. He's like, you feel the coffee, you feel the texture of the coffee, and it was so interesting because now I can't look at coffee the same way. It's the same thing if I'm drinking just water, because it's just like, and I do the same thing you just said. I sit there and I analyze a lot of situations. Like, okay, well, I could do this, and I start to think about what I'm going to say next.
May I have permission to change one word that you're using?
Go right
I
ahead,
would
please
say
educate me.
You don't analyze, you notice.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
mindfulness is about just noticing. Analysis comes with judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But mindfulness is not about judging, it's about noticing.
Definitely.
So you're just noticing, oh, I noticed the smell.
Yeah.
I noticed the color of the coffee. I noticed the steam coming off of the coffee. I noticed the cup. So
Yeah.
it's just noticing.
Yeah.
Because when we go into analyzing and judging, now you have moved away from noticing and being in the present moment. Now you're starting to use your old information to judge it.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So, and it's like I said, ever since that conversation, I just think I look at things from a different aspect now. And I notice more things, like you were saying. I notice a lot of different things now because I'm starting to really just kind of breaking down the steps of things, and it's so fun to do now because it's like, okay, what else can I apply this to? And as you go, it's like, you have a whole different perspective to how you're looking at stuff. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm just drinking my coffee. Now it's like you're noticing the texture. You're seeing the color, the smell it. You kind of smell it a little, get that nice aroma that's coming off the coffee. And it's the same thing applies to teas and everything else. All this stuff that have very strong aromatics and things like that. It changes it.
Actually, anything. So there is a mindfulness raisin exercise where you take just one raisin and you put it in your mouth. Before you put it in your mouth, you touch it, you feel it, you smell it, you see if it crinkles, makes a sound, and then you put it in your mouth and you don't bite. And you just notice, because what you'll notice is your saliva is going to start, producing and producing and producing. Then you notice that you're having an urge to bite. Now, most people who have done the raisin exercise and they don't like raisins will say that the enjoyment of eating that one raisin was way more than eating a whole box of them.
Yeah, because you're using mindfulness as you're doing it, and the way you're looking at it is you're taking the time to notice these things. You're feeling the texture,
Yes.
You're feeling it in your mouth and things like that. And I think that's so interesting, though, too. It's that now I apply it to a lot of stuff because I'm like, man, now let's see what else we can apply this to. And it's so fun to do because then it's like you see things from a different aspect, and you're just
Absolutely.
like, oh man,
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. So let me ask you a question, though. Western psychology focuses on the mind, while Eastern traditional emphasizes on connection between the mind. Like body and breathing work. I know breath work gets mentioned a lot to a lot of people. So when you integrate it to your practice, how do you use differently? Like obviously you're using yoga and all these other things. A lot of people are just going to think yoga, oh, that's the funny stuff I see doing funny poses and things like that. But it's really not what it is.
Right. So yoga it stands for connection, and it means connection between the mind, body, and spirit. And so Western psychology, at least when it first started with Sigmund Freud, it was very much focused on the mind, and the body was kind of, second-class citizen. They didn't really matter. They really focused on the mind and what is the mind doing. What we know is that there is a very, very strong connection between your mind and your body. And I demonstrate this to people very simply, very, very simply. So do you have a pet?
Yes, I do.
What is your pet?
I have a German Shepherd.
Oh, okay. What's your pet's name?
Beauty.
Beauty. Okay. All right. So I want you to picture Beauty in your mind. Is she there?
Yes.
All right. But I just want you to picture her in your mind.
Okay.
Okay. The cutest thing that she does. Just picture that.
Okay.
Okay. Now I want you to frown while you hold the image of her doing the cutest tricks. Are you able to do it? Are you able to do both?
Yes.
Are you sure? Because
No. 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 Never mind. Never mind. Hold on. Never mind.
so,
Never mind. That's
so
so
you
interesting,
are
though.
picturing your dog, your lovely dog in your mind, and I'm asking you to make a frown. These are very contradictory things.
Hmm.
If our minds and bodies were not connected, you'd be able to do both.
Oh, okay.
But they are connected. So you can do it the other way around. So what I demonstrated is called top down. So you're doing from your mind to your body. You're picturing it, and then I'm saying try to make a frown, and you couldn't. The other way would be bottom up, which would be I'd say, okay, have a big smile on your face, and then think about the most horrible thing that's ever happened to you. You can't do it.
It's so funny.
You can't do it.
It's like
So
you gotta smile and think of the most horrific thing ever. It's like
it's hard to do.
it's
So
true.
that's
It's true.
that's like the simplest way to kind of explain the connection between your mind and your body is that our bodies are connected to our minds, and our minds are connected to our bodies. So you can't just work with one and not the other.
Very true. Very
And so
true.
as far as using breath work, so yoga is about the physical exercise. It's about meditation, it's about breath work, and it's about using words or sounds to help you. And so with breath work, there are several different breathing exercises that have research has shown has an effect on your body, and it has an effect on calming your body down. One of those is called alternate nostril breathing. And so what we know is that when we close one nostril, breathe in through the other one. And then I can demonstrate it for you. So you breathe in,
Yeah.
breathe out, and then breathe in again, breathe out. So you do that for several cycles. It has an effect of lowering your blood pressure. And they've done lots and lots of research to show that it actually works.
That's crazy though. Just the way you're breathing can lower your blood pressure. I think it's so fascinating how the body works.
Absolutely. And there are lots of people who don't want to take medication for anxiety. I mean, I have a lot of clients who don't want to take medication for anxiety. And so these are the things that I teach them that they can do. I mean, is this as effective as taking Ativan? No, it's not. It's not going to work like that. But if you practice it over and over again for many, many months, you can then start to notice when your anxiety is going up, and you can start practicing the breathing before it even hits any kind of plateau.
Yeah, definitely. Would you say meditation helps too? Because with anxiety, our brains tend to like kick in overdrive. Wouldn't you say meditation helps it kind of calm it a little bit too? Learn how to focus
Absolutely.
yourself.
So meditation is, I don't know how old you are, but if you remember, like when you had the VHS tapes and you could slow things down, like you could see things in slow motion.
Yes.
Well, so imagine meditation is like that for your brain. All you're doing is you're just sitting and noticing all the chatter in your head.
Yeah.
You're noticing the chatter without getting hooked. And by hooked, what I mean is, imagine you have a thought of, oh, I've got to let Beauty out. She needs to go out. If you get hooked, then either you're going to start to feel bad that you're not letting her out right away, or you're going to get up and let her out. Okay. But meditation allows you to notice that talk that's going on in your brain and just sort of let it go. And then there'll be another thought, just like the little scrolling thing at the bottom of my screen over here. It's like thoughts, just one more will come, and then there'll be another one, and then there'll be another one. So by practicing meditation, what you're doing is you are enhancing your ability to notice the chatter without getting hooked.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, I mean,
and so meditation is very important in order for us to gain an understanding of what's going on internally for us.
Yeah, that's true.
Because at the end of the day, no one else is responsible for what comes out of your mouth or what actions you take. You are the only one who's responsible for it.
Yep, that's true. And a lot of people don't want to take responsibility. If you think about it, a lot of times they don't want to. Every time they say something, they avoid taking responsibility. Oh, I never said that. All right, it's like you're the one that said it. It came from you.
You made me do that. You made me do that.
Right.
If only you hadn't said this, then I wouldn't have said that. And so the thing is, and I do a lot of work with couples, and so that comes up over and over and over again. Well, if she hadn't said that, then I wouldn't have done this. That kind of stuff. But then what I always bring up is that the same scenario could have played out in another couple, and they would have made different choices. So what's the difference? The difference is you are experiencing whatever the stimulus is going on around you, and then you're choosing to respond a certain way.
Exactly.
And that choice is very important. People think they don't have a choice, but they always have a choice.
That's true. They always want to use that as an excuse. Well, no, I didn't have a choice. Yeah, you did. You didn't have to say what you said to upset them. You could have taken a different route than what you decided to go. And then it was their fault. And it's like two little kids fighting over a toy. Oh, no, I didn't do that. It's our fault. They did this. They did. It's like, okay, just because.
He started it. She started it.
You know what I mean?
It's funny because in couples counseling, that's a lot of that is she started it or he started it.
Right. It's, he did this or he did that. And it's like that theory of, my mom used to tell me all the time, it's like, hey, if everyone went to jump off a bridge, would you go with them? No, then okay, then think for yourself then, how hard is that to do?
Right. Yep.
It's so funny because it's like my mom, it makes sense now. It's like my mom was right. I guess I shouldn't go follow the crowd or be a sheep in the herd and type things like that.
Right.
It just doesn't work like that for me.
Right.
So,
and if you are going to be a sheep in the herd or jump off the bridge, take responsibility for it.
Wait, now you want me to take responsibility for me jumping? Come on now. That's too much.
Just own it. Yeah, I jumped off the bridge. Just own it.
Right? That's awesome. Saying like, I'm going nose first in this thing. I decided to jump off. It's okay. Don't worry about me. I decided to make this decision. Gosh, it's funny every time when people say that too. It's like, well, he said this. I'm like, but did you have to say that? And then you feel like you're the parent telling the kids, well, listen, did you really have to hit your sister for this reason? Yeah, she did this to me kind of thing. So.
Right.
So what would you say to someone if they're having hesitation with taking a leap of faith into something? Like say I'm thinking about changing careers. Like what inspiration would you tell them? Like any kind of words of advice? Like, hey, listen, stop thinking about it and just trust your gut type things.
I think that certainly that is one way to do it. I would not just say trust your gut, because I think that's a little what's the word I'm looking for? Simple. It's a very simplistic answer. I would definitely say you look at all the pros and cons and see what you have to win, what you have to lose, and then make an informed decision. Now, if you've already done all of that, and then you know that this would be a good decision, and you're still not taking the next step, another way to look at making decisions is a very simple thing where it is a simple thing. You look at it as, am I making this decision out of fear or am I making it out of positivity and love?
Yeah.
So a decision out of fear could be that, oh, I'm going to quit this job because I'm afraid they're going to fire me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah, makes
And
sense.
a decision out of love would be, I'm going to quit this job because I hate it and I have a better option.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. You're
So
thinking
you
that
are
way.
making a decision based on a better outcome as opposed to a negative situation or a negative feeling.
Yeah, yeah, that makes
So I
sense.
would say if you are making a decision out of a positive kind of a situation or a positive feeling, then by all means make that decision. But if you are making a decision out of fear,
Mhm.
then maybe think about it some more.
True.
Because decisions made out of fear usually don't work out well.
Right. That's very true. Very true. So, Amita, can I ask you a question though? I had a conversation with a woman named Betsy, and we talked about negative self-talk.
Yes.
What do you think about that whole subject? I think it's very interesting. I don't feel like enough people talk about it, and I'd love to get your opinion on what you think about that.
Sure. So we are always talking to ourselves in our heads,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Uh, so if you think of it as a spectrum, there are people who are saying awesome things about themselves all the time that are
Yeah.
not true. I would say they probably fall in the category of somewhat narcissistic or delusional, you know. And then there are people at the other end who are just, I'm horrible, I can never do anything, you know. Neither one of those are good. You know, we've
Yeah.
got to be somewhere in the middle. Now, how are these two extremes formed? You know, there are lots of theories about what makes narcissists. For narcissists, it's understood that it's extremes of treatment. Like when you're a child, you get a lot of praise, but then you also get a lot of neglect and not love. You know, so that sort of very simple terms, that's what makes a narcissist.
Yeah.
Person who's having a lot of negative self-talk usually may have grown up with not a lot of positive feedback from their environment, you know, whether that's the parents, whether that's friends, whether that's school or whatever. They may have been criticized a lot, you know, they may have been told, oh, you can't do anything right, you know. Nobody ever stood up for them and made them realize that they're great. So that is what causes people to start thinking, oh yeah, I'm not good enough, you know, I can't do it, I'm always failing. And so again, either of those extremes is not realistic and it's not helpful. So with people who have a very negative self-talk, I usually will tell them, you know, talk to some of your friends or family that really like you and they care about you and they find you positive. They always have something good to say about you. Write it down. Actually write it down. List it, write it down. And for a while, look at it. Every day, read it. Find an example. You know, if somebody says you're a good listener, don't just read, I'm a good listener. I'm a good listener because Pete said that when he was having a hard time, I was really able to listen to him and he felt like he was heard. So give an example so it really sticks in your brain. And the more and more and more you practice that. So these are like, you know, you're creating neural pathways in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating new neural pathways. You know how in yards or, you know, grassy knolls or whatever, they have signs, don't walk on the grass, you know, because if you walk on the grass and you create this shortcut, everybody else is going to go up that shortcut. You know, nobody's going to take the roundabout path. So people with these kind of beliefs about themselves, negative self-talk, have created a shortcut in their brain. That neural pathway is going straight to, I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You have to actively change that. You have to put a little plaque that says, don't walk on this path, go around. And until that going around becomes second nature, you just keep practicing it.
Yep, that's very true. That's true. Practice makes perfect. That's what my mom always said. Practice makes perfect. You know, and I think it's so interesting though, because we had a conversation about it and I was like, you know, this is actually pretty interesting thoughts. Like how many people have self-dialogue like that? It just constantly beat themselves up. You know, a lot of people say that we're the harshest critics of our own, you know, so like you have,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and I don't think they think about what they're doing to themselves, and they're putting themselves in that negative state of mind because they're just constantly beating themselves up, you know. And it's so interesting to hear people's responses when you ask them about, like, hey, listen, have you ever thought about, like, you give yourself a pep talk? They're like, what do you mean? Like, you look in the mirror, so give yourself a pep talk every morning, kind of thing like that, you know. What I always tell people to stay positive with their thoughts. Like, even though you want to be negative, just try and stay as positive as possible, because it'll keep you in a straight, narrow mindset usually, you know.
Yeah.
And you'll just keep, you'll notice a difference out of people as you go and things like that. And I always like to ask people this question. I always tell people, I don't ask how your day is, ask how your mental health is. And, you know, and the thought process behind it is just this. It's just to start a conversation. Like, you know, I could ask you, hey, Amita, how are you doing? You just say, good. But if I go, hey, Amita, how's your mental health today? Your next thought is, okay, well, why is he asking me this question? You know, and it makes you think about it for a minute. And they're like, well, why are you asking me that? Well, I'm just wondering, you know, you seem like something's bothering you. And it starts a conversation between you and just any person. I've tried it on a couple people, and it's been interesting, the responses I get from it. You know, I think one person, I think they had one negative reaction, but it was only because I don't think they didn't understand what the question was. Like, why is he asking me this question? And everybody's like, no, man, listen, he's asking you how you're doing. Like, how you doing? You doing okay? You know, are you good? You know, things like that, just to get somebody to just start talking. Because I think that's the hardest part, is to get people to talk about their mental health situations. Like, hey, you may be out in the dumps, you know, and you may need somebody to listen. And you know, and I think that comes to is, if somebody does start talking to you, you know, actively listen to them is what I always tell people. Just actively listen, you know, because I've had people come to me say, hey, Pete, I thought about killing myself today. And I'm just like, why? Why do you feel that way? You know, I'm just very calm. Why? What's wrong? What happened? You know, just let them get them talking to you, you know, and things like that, you know. And it's always interesting to see what they respond with. And now a lot of my friends and people I know now start saying that. It's like, hey, you know, Pete says, hey, how's your mental health today? And it's so interesting to see what people's responses are when you ask that question to them.
I know they might you stop in the tracks for a second.
Exactly what I'm trying to get them to do.
I completely agree with you. I think that's a great question to ask. However, I think if I ask that in my everyday world, people are going to be a little bit uncomfortable because of my profession. Because, you know, I mean, people already think I can read minds. So it's like, oh, why does she want to know that?
You know, another thing, too, a lot of people think that you analyze them, though? Have you ever gotten that judgment, too?
You know, people always think that. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that for free.
Right.
That's my job.
Right. You know, and that was funny because I was talking to my wife about something, and I'm putting this panel together of people to discuss suicide, you know, just in general, to have a conversation about it. And one of the people that said they were in is a woman that was on the show named Dr. Kristen. And she goes, wait, what kind of doctor is she? And like, her response was so funny because she's like, wait a minute. How do you know she's not going to sit there and analyze everything I'm doing? I'm like, I don't think that's what's going to happen in this conversation. We're just having a group of people to get together, have a conversation. And the fact that we have somebody is a doctor that's in this situation, it'd be better because she can shed light onto things for people along the way as we go in this conversation. You know, her first thought was, oh, no, she's not going to analyze me. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's not going to sit there and analyze you. I think that you're getting this misconception somewhere.
Right.
It made me laugh, though, because I'm like, not everybody I talk to sits there and analyzes everything I'm doing, you know, and it's just, it makes me laugh because that's the first response you get when you tell people, oh, you know, there's a doctor that's going to be in a conversation. Oh, are they going to sit there and study everything I'm doing? No, they're not going to study everything you're doing.
Right.
So the plan is that I'm planning a panel. I've got 6 people. We're going to basically have a conversation because it was a topic that we brought up when I was live on TikTok the other day talking to some people. Now with TikTok, you have to code words differently. So we use different language when we were talking about it. But somebody had come in, so they got a call, so they lost a friend. And it's always an interesting conversation because when that topic comes up, it's like people shut down. It's like, because 1, you don't know what to say in that situation, you know. 2, you don't know what to say to them because a lot of times, you know, you're not really sure what to say because you don't want to say something upsets them more. You know, they're already upset about the situation itself. So, which leads me to my question. You know, since trauma is your area, what suggestions do you have to somebody? Like, say, like somebody just called me and said, "Hey, Pete, I just lost somebody." What is something I could say to them that it wouldn't offend them, but at the same time let them know, "Hey, I'm here if you need me."
I think you just answered your own question. I'm here if you need me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, you know.
there is nothing you or me or anybody can do about someone who has ended their life, and
Mhm.
you are dealing with the people who are left behind. There are lots of feelings of guilt and lots of
Mhm.
feelings of regret and things like
Yep.
that. And there's nothing you can say that's going to make it go away. Nothing. Um, I mean, I used to do suicide prevention work in the prisons. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, the first thing that we know is that don't ever hesitate to ask somebody, if they're thinking of hurting themselves,
Yeah.
because that's the one thing that people are very scared about. They think, oh, if I mention it, then they're going to do it. No, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it. They've already thought about it. But you mentioning it, now you've put light on it. Now you've brought it out into the open where somebody can talk about it and feel like, okay, this is not a secret I need to hold. I'm feeling this way. I can talk to somebody about it. Your question was, what do you tell someone who has lost somebody? You just say exactly what you said. I don't know what it feels like for you, because I am not going through that, but I'm here for you. And anything you need, I am here to support you. Tell me what's going on.
Mhm.
Because all you want to do is you want to offer them the support. That is all you can do, and that is all they need. You can't fix it.
Yeah.
There is no fixing. Death is permanent. There is
Yeah.
no fixing. So don't even try.
Yeah, I like when you bring up guilt though, because in the conversation we were having, someone said that they felt guilty. That they could have done more, and I'm like, and my response was this, and maybe you could tell me if I was wrong. I said that you don't know what you could have done. You don't understand. If they, like you said, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it. You can't do anything about that, unfortunately. But there's nothing else
So,
you could have
I
done.
would encourage you to, in that situation, not deny what they're feeling, because
Oh,
their
okay,
feeling
okay,
is that I could have done something. But you don't even have to agree to it. You can just say, I know that you feel that way. I know you feel that way. Because right at that moment, you're telling them, no, you couldn't have done anything. Makes no difference.
yeah,
It makes no difference. They're still going to feel it. So all you can do is validate the feeling. Validating the feeling does not mean you're agreeing with what they are saying.
yeah. You just validating
You're
the fact
just
they're saying
validating
something.
what they feel. And you
Okay.
can say, yeah, I know it feels that way. It feels like you could have done something. Maybe you could have, maybe you couldn't. But right now it feels like that for you. And I'm here for you if you want to talk more about it.
Right. So, okay, well, that makes sense. So now I'm thinking about the way you just put that, and things like that. So I'm going to change the topic a little bit here. I did notice in your profile it said retreats. What kind of retreats do you do?
Yes, so I've done couples retreats, and
Mm-hmm.
I am now I'm taking a group of therapists to India.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm taking a group of therapists to India for continuing education credit. So, as a therapist, you need so many hours every year,
Mm-hmm.
and so the training is going to be on yogic and Buddhist psychology and how it blends with Western psychology, and Ayurveda for mental health.
Okay.
Ayurveda is do you know what Ayurveda is?
No, actually, I was just going to ask
Ayurveda
you
is
what
the
that is.
sister science to yoga. It
Okay.
is the science of using food, spices, those kind of herbs to heal your body and mind.
Mm-hmm.
So the two trainings that I'm going to be offering are Ayurveda for mental health and yogic and Buddhist psychology. And we are also going to be traveling in the northern part of India, where it's called the Golden Triangle. It's
Mm-hmm.
where you have Taj Mahal, and Jaipur is a it's called the Pink City. All the forts and fortresses are all made out of this pink stone. And then we're going to fly to southern part of India, where the training is going to be held at an Ayurvedic resort. So it's going to be from October 15th through October 25th. And I have people coming from Australia, people coming from US, and I'm super excited. I mean, I grew up in India, so I am familiar with all of these places and the culture, and I'm so excited to take people there and show them the country and, just experience it, because India it's an experience.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I've always wanted to travel to India. I don't know what it is. It's just so fascinating. I think it's just interesting to see how other people live, and just imagine the food, the spices, all the different things that you could just imagine. And I love how you bring up food as a healing property too, because I don't think people tie your health, your food, and your mental health together enough. Because what you put in is what you get out, is what a lot of people say.
Absolutely.
So if you're putting crap in, you're getting crap out. So just changing your diet can change your mindset completely about how you look at things and elevate your mood and things like that. But man, dude, see the Taj Mahal, that'd be amazing. I studied art for a while, so all that stuff is so fascinating to me.
Yeah, India's just every corner there's a 500-year-old temple. So
oh my God, that's what I'm saying.
It's everywhere.
God, that's gonna sound like a great time. That's so cool, though. They're gonna have such a great experience, I feel like, and then they'll be able to learn more about Eastern medicine too, and then things like that, and different properties and things like that. Because I think people tend to hear Eastern medicine, all these other things. Oh well, herbs don't heal me. Hold up, Chief. What do you think? Since some of these vitamins you're taking, all these different supplements you're taking, what do you think they come from? Herbs, spices, all these different things play different parts, and wellness of all over in general, and all the minerals and things that you take in. And I don't think people look at it like that. They just I think they're quick to judge for no reason.
Well, I think that when you don't have all the information, it's easy to kind of go with what you've heard, and it's like, oh yeah, those things don't do anything. But plant as medicine has been around for centuries and centuries and centuries. Growing up in India, we only ate vegetables that were seasonal. Because that's just what was available. And so I remember that in the summer months, my mom would say, we have to have these vegetables because they have antiseptic qualities and they kill germs in your body. So we need to eat those. So, again, I didn't study this growing up in India, but we just knew it because for centuries, my mother knew it because her mother knew it, and her mother knew it because her mother knew it. So it's it's been passed along. And so now I am hoping that I can bring it to others who have not grown up with that knowledge and the good fortune of learning those things, that we can still use it, because I think a lot of the problem we have with health in this country has to do with preservatives and all the stuff that's in food that's really not food. And so, so I think if we can heal ourselves with food and not be dependent on pharmaceutical companies, then we are moving in the right direction.
I'd say tell them in the back. I don't think you said that loud enough. I think that's exactly where we need to move towards, because, a lot of the pharmaceuticals we take now, it's just, if you look at the side effects, are just, wow, are insane.
Yeah.
And I'm so jealous of these people getting to go over there, though, because it's going to be great to learn these things firsthand, to experience it, to just experience different culture, different foods and things like that. I'm a huge foodie, so I try to try any kind of cuisine I can find. Anything I haven't tried yet, I'm always exploring to try new things and different things. And I mess around spices and stuff like that. And me and my wife are always trying different things because we're like, oh yeah, we like this because it's different. We started experiencing chili oils and things like that. We started messing around with and stuff like that. And you notice that, you can taste the spice, but it's not like burn your mouth up. I don't get those type of people that want it so hot. It's like melting your tongue. It's like, you just like torturing yourself, don't you? I'm like, no. I'm like, you don't get it. They can build a spice tolerance, and then you go out and you appreciate these spices for what they are and the properties they bring to the table, and all these other things, all the nutritional things too.
Well, come join us. Join
I've thought
us.
about it. I thought about it. Let me tell you, I've thought about it. That'd be amazing. I just, because I think it's really what it comes down to is, like you said, it's all the preservatives and things. And, an interesting fact I learned yesterday when I was talking to one of my guests, he told me that big tobacco actually owns I guess what he said. He said in the 90s, they found out that they were going to be in trouble. They were going to everything's going to get kind of restricted. So they started buying into these other companies. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Why do we so addicted to these foods? Because these big tobacco guys have put all this money into it to fill it with all this stuff to make you be more addictive. So, hey, maybe they may not get you with cigarettes, but they're going to get you with those chips. Oh, you want them chips? I'll kill you slowly with them things. And, if people started reading labels, I think it'd blow a lot of people's minds. Like, I spend a little time reading some labels and the calorie counts and some of these things are just insane. And I
it's
think
all empty calories. It's
it
got
is.
like no nutrition to it.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that I don't eat bag of chips. I'll have a bag of chips.
Oh no, I get that. No.
But I think we have to be a little bit more mindful about what we are putting in our bodies.
Facts, exactly, and where it's coming from, and all these other chemicals that you can't name them. It probably shouldn't be there in your body, honestly. And I think that's where we're losing touch. Is a lot of people are like, oh, well, it doesn't taste good. I think that's where your first problem is that maybe it's the way you're preparing it. Like there's so many different things
it's
out
also,
there.
remember, we just talked about tasting good can come from slowing down the eating.
Exactly. And it's just like, I noticed it personally because I've had to change my diet because I'm diabetic, things like that. So I can't have a lot of these things other people have. So like, it's a constant battle for me, but I'm learning little by little, like what things I can have. And I'm basically replacing certain things I like, if I want some sweetness, I go with more of a fruit than an actual candy because that natural sugar is better for me. And things like that as I'm learning. And I'm learning like how to tell like what's going on. And actually Beauty actually senses my blood sugar level when it goes up. She'll know because she'll get really close.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's an interesting thing to know because my wife works as a vet tech. So she was telling me that she said, she reacts to you when your levels are really high. She gets really close and sits right on top of you to let you know something's wrong. And it's weird that she has that the canines have that uncanny sense that they can tell things like that when it's really elevated. Like I'll know when it's elevated, and then she'll start acting kind of weird, and then she'll usually react based on mine, and things like that.
They say that dogs can smell cancer cells even before it shows up on any MRIs and things like that.
I believe it. I believe it. It's an uncanny ability that dogs have, and it really is the things that they can do. It's truly amazing.
Yep.
So as we get ready to start wrapping up, do you want to go ahead and plug your podcast? Do you know how often are you going to drop new episodes?
So I'm starting with once a month.
Okay.
It's we only have one episode right now. But
I say go listen to it.
Yeah, since I'm just starting out, I'm doing once a month, and I think that maybe when we start ramping up, it'll be more frequently.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, I suggest you all go listen to it. It was great. You get a better insight of everything. She's basically talking about herself the whole time. It's just the way, it's great to get to know the host before the show even starts. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a real great conversation. Like, I love how you can break things down from technical to just make it understandable for most people that don't understand the technical side of things. And I think that's what's going to really apply to a lot of people, and I'm excited. I can't wait for the next episode. Obviously, I've already added it to my list to watch for it to come out and things like that because I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I really am.
Thank you so much, Pete. I did want to share that I am licensed in Texas, even though I am located in Cincinnati. I am licensed in Texas, California, Kentucky, and Ohio, and I can do therapy with couples and individuals in all of those states. So if they want to reach out to me, they can, go to my website and send an interest email about wanting to work with me. And also, if they are interested in going to India with me in October, to reach out to me that way. And you'll have some information about it on your site, right?
It'll be all down here right below this video, guys. All the information you need will be right here right here. You find it, her website, her everything. All her socials are listed right there for you guys. Go check them out. Follow her podcast. Remember, once a month, and when it starts ramping up, guys, don't be saying that you're behind, because I told you ahead of time to go check this thing out. So she said the same thing. Go ahead and listen. Hey, maybe the first episode, but listen, she's already starting her journey. I'm so excited for you, though. Trust me.
Thank you so much.
I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure chatting
with you. Oh my God. It was so amazing. I enjoyed the conversation. Really, I did. I thought it was very thought-provoking and everything else. And I look forward to the podcast. I'm so excited. I love new podcasts when I get something new to listen to. And then when it's into my rotation of stuff, it's like I tell everybody about it. Hey, listen, man, you got to check out this podcast I'm listening to. It's really good. So don't worry. I'll be telling people about yours for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Pete.
So as we get ready to wrap up this episode, Pete versus Anxiety, Amita, thank you so much for being here once again. I enjoyed this conversation. Once you get the podcast going again, I say come back and we'll talk about it some more. You can let us know how your journey's going, how you're enjoying it, and things like that. Because I think it's always great to get, a perspective from somebody else that's new to podcasting. Just, hey, listen, I'm about to meet these great people.
Yeah. I'm always looking forward to getting new ideas and suggestions and guidance.
Definitely. Listen, if you have any questions, reach out. I'd love to help out any way I can, and things like that for sure. Guys, you know where to find me on Pete for Anxiety, pretty much on every social site possible. X all the way down to TikTok. I'm also on Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio. And as I say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save somebody's life, or hell, can you make their day. I'm Pete for Anxiety, signing out saying, hey, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today.